o'clock p.m. I'd like to officially declare this meeting of the Durham City Council work session in order that we might faithfully discharge the business of the people of Durham. His Honor is en route. He's probably approaching the building now, but we'll go ahead
on a scooter.
On a scooter or something. In the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good to see you all, and thank you for joining us. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Williams is en route. Mayor Pro Tem Middleton.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Caballero.
Here.
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman is requesting an excused absence for today's work session, and Councilmember Rist.
Here.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. The chair determines that a quorum is present. We're going to go ahead and grant our colleague the excused absence she requested. I'm going to entertain a motion to grant Councilmember Freeman an excused absence for today.
Second.
I heard a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, Councilmember Freeman is excused. Thank you so much, colleagues. As I said, the mayor will be here shortly, but we're going to go ahead with regular order and entertain announcements by the council. It's good to see my honorable colleagues. I'll yield now. Councilmember Cook.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Those folks watching at home, just a couple of quick announcements. The first is that I had the pleasure of doing a ride along with our firefighters yesterday, and it was really, really informative. And yeah, it was just I don't want to say it was a great time, but I did get to slide down the pole. So that actually was very fun. And I did not hurt myself. So I feel good about that. A big thanks to, yeah, I know. I was like, I surely can do this. I have the upper body strength, but I heard, whatever. Anyway, big thanks to Captain Travis Martin, who drove me around for about 4 hours yesterday. On his day off, which was really, really something because they work 24-hour shifts, and I'm sure that he needed time to rest. So I was really grateful for that. The other thing I just want to say is that it is extremely cold outside. And I want to say a couple of quick things about that. The first is that if you are a tenant and you are renting and there is a problem with your heat, this is an emergent situation. Your landlord needs to be fixing that within 48 hours, ideally within 24. If you're not getting response from your landlord, you are welcome to call if you are inside the city limits, our one-call number, or directly to the neighborhood improvement services. An inspector will come out. They will do an inspection to assess your heating. If it does not work and your landlord is not responsive, they will hold an emergency session and end up doing those repairs, and then later straightening that out. So that is an option if you are a tenant. I just want to remind folks that that is a pathway that you can take. The other thing is that if you or someone you know is unsheltered during this time, it is extremely dangerous to be outside 24/7 in temperatures this cold. I would encourage folks to call Entry Point. It is a white flag week. So every night there will be extra shelters open for unhoused neighbors. There are family-specific shelters. There are rooms at Families Moving Forward. There are also beds at Yates Baptist Church that is on the number 10 bus line. I'm going to give the number for Entry Point Durham so that folks can call if they need to. That number is 984-287-8313. So again, you can access those shelters by calling Entry Point. They are first come, first serve. The Yates Baptist Church opens at 7 p.m. and the intake runs until 8:30 p.m. And those are all my announcements. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Congratulations on successfully getting down that pole. Councilmember Baker, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Just one thing, I wanted to extend my deepest condolences. City of Durham lost one of its own in Bruce Mabry, and just wanted to offer condolences to the family, the friends, and the colleagues of Bruce. He's with the General Services. His passing, as I understand, was unexpected. It's always hard to lose someone. It's even harder to lose someone when it is unexpected and before their time. I didn't know him personally, but read some very good things about him. And so I just wanted to say I'm very sorry for the loss that everyone has experienced. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mr. Manager, did you want to?
Thank you, Councilmember Baker. I did want to let council know I have asked staff to provide a brief report today, just reiterating some of the details you just shared and sharing a little bit about Mr. Mabry. So that will be under my priority items. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Caballero, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
I have something that I would like to bring to a subsequent work session agenda. Should I go ahead and do that now? Okay. So at our, I think many of you know, we got an update from community development during our last joint city-county meeting in December. And from there, subsequently, several folks, including folks on HSAC, have been working on a proposal that all city council members, city manager, county commissioners, and county manager will be receiving by the end of next week. And I would like to be able to discuss the proposal at our, I think it's January 25th work session. And so wanted to bring that forward here. Happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Those are all my announcements.
Councilmember, just for clarity, is the staff going to be preparing something for us, or is it who's going to be presenting?
No, it would be an opportunity to have a discussion amongst council members based on that proposal. There are folks, part of the people working on the proposal are different organizations within our continuum of care, including folks from community development is a combination of people on the HSAC and then in the pre-shelter housing subcommittee group. So that is where the proposal is coming from.
I'll poll the house. Is that all right? All right. But you appear as the resource person?
It's fine if I appear as a resource person. And once folks have the proposal in hand, they.
So we're to be receiving that sometime soon.
My understanding is that they are finalizing by next Wednesday, and then we'll be sending it to electeds on both boards because there are asks that affect the county and there are asks that affect the city, and then to both city and county manager.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Mr. Mayor, good afternoon, sir. We're going through announcements. Councilmember Riss, good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Welcome, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, new City Manager. It's good to see you again, colleagues, staff, and those here and online. So just a couple things. I want to note a couple of other folks want to keep in our memory. First is Dr. Livonia Allison, who is absolutely a legend in Durham politics, a force of nature, who led the Durham committee for, I think, 13 years, but played a number of roles here in the city of Durham in impactful and profound ways. So I count myself lucky to have known Dr. Allison and work with her. She was amazing. And I think her admonition always to think about who benefits, who pays is a constant reminder to me about how to think about policy choices. So want to keep her memory in our hearts. Second thing is today is a National Day of Mourning for President Jimmy Carter. As you all know, and I think that service maybe is going on right now in the National Cathedral. I had if I can share an anecdote, Mr. Mayor, I had the total pleasure. It's a lifetime memory for me as a kid. 1976 in the summer, driving home from a summer vacation. My mom, who many of y'all know, is very involved in politics, who just was working at the polls at 89 last November, said, "Hey, we should drive by the small town of Plains, Georgia. There's this guy who's a former governor of Georgia who's running for president. We should just go by and check out this place." Drove up to Plains, Georgia, pulled up to the train depot, and there was a little parade that went from the depot down Main Street or whatever. So we just kind of followed in the parade. And at the end of the parade, my mom said, Mr. Carter's mom, Miss Lillian, is actually here in the parade. We should offer her a ride back to the train depot. So we offered. My mom kind of got up and said, Miss Lillian, I'm Carol Riss from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So glad to be here. Can we give you a ride back to the train depot? And she said, sure you can, So Ms. Lillian jumps in the back seat, and right away, these two Secret Service guys jump in right next to her, So we'll never forget that, her charm and grace and just being there at that moment of American history. I should say also that later, my wife and I kind of followed President Carter's example and spent a year working for Habitat for Humanity, again, based on his work there with Habitat. So he's a big figure and sort of for all of us as Americans and me as well. So I'll remember his memory. The last thing I'll say, as I mentioned at the work session, at our city council meeting on Monday, is that we did experience our first pedestrian fatality already of this year. And we can't work fast enough to reduce those fatalities. As I said, we've all, and I credit my colleagues who've been on the council before me for actually enacting a Vision Zero policy, hiring a Vision Zero coordinator. So that plan is in action. We're moving on that, but it can't go fast enough. So I would like to have an update at our next work session meeting, just on the status of that, where we're going to go with with Vision Zero work plan. Certainly our work to reduce these fatalities is based on not only what we've done with the bonds, improving streets and sidewalks, but there's a whole bunch of things I'm assuming are coming forward with that Vision Zero plan. So I'd love an update on where that plan is, what we can expect with that, and if there's any reasons why that plan is being delayed that we need to know about. So if I could have my colleagues' support for that, I'd appreciate that.
Any objections? All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Riss, and thank you, colleagues, for some wonderful announcements. Today is indeed, Councilmember Riss, the day of requiem and memory. We certainly honor the life and memory of as he said, a giant, Dr. E. Livonia Allison. As an American elected official, there are a lot of people we look to for example as an inspiration. As an African-American elected official, Black elected official in this country, in the South, in North Carolina, it's difficult to have a serious conversation about the exercise of power and one's entry into that arena and her name not come up. You can have a conversation, but if it's going to be a serious conversation, particularly in the state of North Carolina, her name must come up. So we paused. I know the mayor will say more. The entire city pauses in remembering her and thanking God for her life and for her service and for example. Whether you were on the receiving end of admonition or praise, you did not leave her presence without being changed in one way or another. May God bless her memory. I got a Jimmy Carter story, man. I'm going to see your story. And one up in 1980, I was a young boy in Brooklyn, New York, and President Carter was running for re-election, and he came to my church. It was a very prominent Baptist church in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. I remember Muhammad Ali came, Governor Cuomo came, Senator Ted Kennedy, and the president, of course, was the headliner. My dad, deacon there at the church, was part of a security apparatus. Of course, the Secret Service was running the ball, and my dad was standing at the door that the champ Muhammad Ali and President Carter would have come through. So he's standing there, and the president comes through, President Carter comes in, and my dad reaches for his hand. Secret Service grabs his hand. President reaches around the agent and grabs my dad's other hand. So he's got my dad in between the Secret Service agent. He looks around and says, I got it, and walks in. My dad never stopped telling that story. It didn't matter what the family was talking about. He'd always bring up his Muhammad Ali story that day and the James Earl Carter story that day. So God bless his memory, and just so many memories like that populate our public square today. And thank you for your reflection. And I'm proud that our family was touched by his life as well. Finally, today, Mr. Mayor, I'll be attending a homegoing service of remembrance for Pastor Don Westbrook here tonight. Pastor Don served the Bethel Christian Center for 54 years here in our city. I remember some time ago, Mr. Mayor, before you assumed the gavel, delivering a proclamation. I think it was on the occasion of his 50th anniversary then. So this is a full circle moment tonight. So we certainly send condolences and best wishes to his congregation, to his family, to his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren after 54 years of service in the pulpit in our city. Great faith leader here in Durham and a great citizen of our city. And we bless him, bless his memory, and may it be a blessing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, colleagues. I'll yield to the mayor.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you. I implore everyone to live every day like it's your last. You just never know when that time will come. And as we, celebrate the life of President Carter, I was listening to that on the way here. As they just left and are en route back to his hometown, I believe now, Plains. But also, we usually come out heavily and vote for presidents, but we don't come out and vote as much locally, although local politics impact us most. And I learned that the hard way really quickly. My first day teaching at Shepherd Middle School, this little short, small frame woman with a really big presence, hands on her hip, rocking left to right in the hallways of Shepherd Middle School. This was literally my first day on the job of my first real job as a music teacher. And I remember my principal, because I didn't notice her on staff. I was like, who's that lady? He said, just keep walking. And I kept right on walking, and I think he probably intentionally told me to do that just so I can learn who Dr. Allison was. Because as I walked past her, young man, are you gonna walk past me and not say anything? And she basically blessed me out. about the hallways not being wide enough for the kids in the building. So I guess my assignment was to advocate for a construction project to widen the hallways or something. But these kids are here, they're here to learn. They should be comfortable, not crammed in these hallways. And I went back to my principal and I was like, who is that woman? And he just started laughing. He said, that's Dr. E. Livonia Allison. And you need to make sure you know who she is. And that was my first interaction. And she has been impacting my life in many very diverse ways ever since. She loved the collard greens from my restaurant because they have peanut butter in them. And I would have to go to her home. She would call me and she'll start talking about politics and she'll cut me off mid-sentence and say, what are you doing right now? Like, well, I'm just sitting here. Well, if you're just sitting, you're not doing nothing. So bring me those collard greens. So I would have to go to the restaurant, get collard greens, and take it to her house. And I knew I needed to allocate at least an hour because she would pull out these manuals and she would say, this is how we got Shirley Chisholm where she was. And this is how I became the first Black woman to lead a committee. And this is how we used to organize to get presidents elected. And she just started the things that I would only be able to read in history books. She had the manuals of how they organized the South. So I address her as a Durham icon, a North Carolina legend, and a waymaker for this country. She had a significant impact on so many industries, civically, socially, even in the healthcare industry. So her life is, she has left us as of 2 evenings ago, but her legacy will live on forever, I'm sure. I've gone all over the country, including when I spent time with the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, who's from California. She said, is Dr. Livonia Allison still in Durham? Everyone knows who she is. So her legacy will reach far and wide. We also mentioned Carlisle, the passing of, okay, yeah, got you.
At the council meeting, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And so, yeah, we're here to get the work done today. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm going to ask that you facilitate a good deal of the meeting today. It's just one of those days I have a lot going on up here in my head and I just need to not be fully facilitated. I'll jump in a little later, but if you don't mind just getting us started and going.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, colleagues, we've finished with announcements. At this time, I'll yield to our city manager for any priority items that he may have. Is this the first work session?
This is my first work session.
Congrats, first work session. All right.
Thank you very much.
You're underway.
Real quick before we get started, I do want to say in regards to the Bull City Future Fund, please look out for a press release. We are getting really close to being able to open up for applications for organizations throughout the community. So just look out for that press release that is coming. Really excited about that. The goal is to raise $1 million. We haven't gotten there yet, but we are getting to the point where we can start the application process to disperse funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, the city manager's office does have one priority item. There's a supplemental item that's been added. It's agenda item number 19, Cooperative Group Purchase Contract, Heavy Duty Mobile and Air Light Support Truck. That is in your agenda. In addition, with your consent, Mr. Chair, I'd like to add 2 reports to the agenda briefly, if you're comfortable with that, one of which I alluded to earlier.
Absolutely.
All right. First, I'd like to ask Gina Probst, Director of General Services, to come speak and offer additional comments. As Councilmember Baker mentioned earlier, we lost a member of the city family this week, tragically and suddenly. Bruce Mabry was an employee of Gina's, and I asked Gina just to share a little bit of information about Bruce. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, City Manager. And good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Appreciate the opportunity to share out the news of the sudden and unexpected passing of Bruce Mabry. Bruce, let me tell you a little bit about Bruce. Bruce was a dedicated member of the General Services Department. He was on our landscaping team. He's been with the city since 2019, but in speaking with colleagues, I'm like, God, it's just 2019. It felt like it was much longer because of his contributions. When When you speak to Bruce's supervisors, his managers, his coworkers, what they'll say is his reputation was one of integrity. He was hardworking and detail-oriented. He refused to compromise on quality, and he often reminded others, and he ensured those standards were met. He was on our downtown landscaping team to ensure that our city facilities and grounds were healthy and well cared for. You might not know it because when you're doing maintenance, you might not pay attention to some of those things. You know, the grass gets cut, things get edged, the shrubs get pruned. But he also, Bruce was also involved in some special projects, and his fingerprints are all over downtown. He was instrumental in installing the retaining walls around the trees along Pettigrew Street. So when you drive down Pettigrew, there's trees. It's along the railroad corridor. It's across from Durham Station. And that was the first part of a project that then created, you know, a very visual appeal as well as, you know, erosion control and things like that. So when you drive down Pettigrew, you can know that Bruce Mabry's fingerprints are there. There were many other things. If he were here today, he would be doing whatever was necessary to get ready for winter weather. He was you should be proud to know that he was a dedicated city employee. Personally, Bruce shared a life with his wife, Brittany. He was a devoted son and cared for his mother. We share our collective condolences with his family, his friends, and his dear General Services coworkers. We're going to hold our memories of Bruce tightly. We're going to miss him greatly, and we'll continue to hold his family and his loved ones in our hearts. His service is tonight at 6 o'clock in Roxborough at Strickland and Jones Memorial Funeral Services. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share more about him.
Thank you, Gina. You do him honor, and we mourn his passing. There's a second brief report. Gina did make mention of the fact that we have winter weather on the way. It's been a minute since Durham has had winter weather, so I've asked DCM Bertha Wimbush over the operations portfolio just to briefly share some of the details of our preparation and protocols. If you have questions for DCM Wimbush or myself, we'll take those as well. Thank you, Bertha.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. Bertha Wimbush, Deputy City Manager for Operations. I'm sure you all have been following the forecast as we have as well. From the latest forecast report we had from the National Weather Service this morning in Raleigh, we are expected the weather is supposed to start Friday at 3 p.m. for the eastern part of the state for our area around 5 p.m. There will probably be enough snow, 1 to 2 inches, to accumulate on the streets so that there will be hazardous conditions. Lasting through Saturday, black ice will also be a concern on Sunday and Monday, and there will also be enough accumulation, freezing rain to result in downed trees and other weather outages such as electricity and gas. We will have our latest up today on our citywide coordination meeting with emergency management that would include city departments, county departments, DPS, Durham Tech, and our local universities. We have already activated our severe weather webpage. Here you will find lots of information, not only about city departments, known closures, cancellations, as well as schedule changes. You will see information about Go Durham, as well as solid waste collections. There are a few things I want to share with you today that I have received from the departments earlier this morning. Emergency Communications is bringing on extra staff for Friday night and Saturday morning. Staff will have all the appropriate emergency contact information for city and county departments, commercial utility companies, along with NCDOT. Our police department will bring on additional staff overnight and into Saturday. Officers will also have salt and sandbags so that they can put those down if they experience any slick spots on the streets as they traverse the city. They will provide updates on their social media pages and through our communications departments. Solid waste, as you can see on the webpage, they will not open the waste disposal and recycling center on Saturday. They will also not provide collections on Saturday. Water management, all of our emergency generators have been fueled if needed in preparation for the storm. Sand and salt have been applied around our facilities for safety. General services will plow all of the sidewalks and around our facilities, as well as around our major other partner facilities, d.b.a, and those other facilities that will have services. General Services will make sure there's signage on our sidewalks. That's been an issue in the past to make sure people are appropriately notified if the sidewalks are safe to walk on. Urban Forestry will also be available. I want to make sure that folks know that if there is a tree down that is causing a hazard, like on a street or on a sidewalk, they should dial 911. If it's not a hazard, they should just dial the non-emergency number or Durham One Call and make a report. Also, I want to remind you all that Durham One Call only operates 8 to 5 p.m. If you call before then or after then, you can leave a message. You can also go to the webpage, put in a service request, or use the text number. They will not be available any additional hours. They're never available at any additional hours during a weather event. We have received communication from Duke Energy as well. I'm sure you've seen those emails with information about how to contact them. We also have that on our webpage. We will continue to update this page, as well as communications will be providing updates on all of their social media platforms. And if you need additional information, please feel free to reach out to Durham One Call during normal hours, or reach out to the webpage to get information about who you should contact for particular events. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Colleagues, any questions? Councilmember Caballero.
Thank you. This isn't necessarily a question for you, but it is a question for Parks and Rec. And that is about the MLK event on Saturday and what the plan is there.
Good afternoon, Wade Walcott, Parks and Recreation. You're referring to the walk, is that correct?
I think it's at WD Hill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's still scheduled as is right now until we get additional direction or forecasts, and then we'll push that out as needed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Colleagues, anyone else?
One other thing I want to
sir.
mention, I had a note about, is our HEART team will operate normal hours. And so Ryan Smith is here if you have any questions about that. I want to make sure that folks know that they will be out and about as normal.
If you have no further questions, thank you, Deputy City Manager Winbush. And Mr. Chair, there's nothing further as part of my priority items.
Mr. Manager and Madam Deputy, thank you so much for that update. While the rest of us will be watching Netflix and warming our homes, our frontline workers will be out there placing themselves in danger on our behalf. So please convey the gratitude of an entire city to all of them on our behalf. Thank you so much. Did you say something about item number 19? You added something to 19. Was there anything actionable in your priority items? I jotted it. Yeah, I'll move for approval of the manager's.
It was simply notification that the item was added after the
Gotcha,
original
okay.
publication of the agenda. So
Right,
it is not on your original publication. Thank you.
Got you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam City Attorney, any priority items?
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The City Attorney's Office has no priority items today.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and members of City Council. I don't have any priority items, but I am missing one vote for the boards and committees and commissions report. As of right now, I only have 2 votes for one nominee, and 3 other council members have individually voted for other people. So there isn't a general consensus on that.
I'm a horse trade.
So I was late. I did submit mine. Did you get it? No, okay. I submitted it like about 10, 15 minutes ago.
I'll follow back up with Diana. If you did happen to vote, however, with the other 2, it still wouldn't give us general consensus on the same person, though, or a majority on the same person.
Okay.
So,
Who's leading? Who's the person?
I have right now Caitlin Kempsey with votes from Councilmember Cook and Councilmember Baker.
I'll change my vote. You know? Do we need to send this back? We'll put it on GBA. All right. Thank you, colleagues. Madam Clerk, was there anything else?
No, thank you.
All right.
Actually, if I could also just interject, I understand that Madam Deputy Clerk Rowland just received her certified, what's it called, certified municipal clerk designation. So I wanted to congratulate you on that. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Madam Attorney, did you have?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I apologize. The manager just brought something to my attention. The city attorney's office did add a priority item. It's item number 20 on today's agenda. I'd actually intended it to go on the next agenda, but it doesn't really matter. It's really a housekeeping matter for you all to set the filing fees for the municipal election this fall.
Gotcha.
I received an email before the holiday from Director Bowens asking what the filing fees would be. He's trying to get his ducks in a row. So if you all have any questions about that, it's a fairly perfunctory matter. You handled the same thing in 2023.
Thank you, Madam Attorney.
Sure.
Right. Colleagues, I think we've exhausted our priority items. At this time now, I'll read for the record administrative consent items for our agenda. Administrative consent items can be pulled by any member of the council or a member of the public for further discussion. If not, these items could be passed by one vote at our general meeting next Monday, or at our next Monday general meeting. All right, administrative consent items, City Clerk's Office. Item number 1, Durham Planning Commission appointment, which has been placed on d.b.a. Under departmental items, Budget and Management Services Department, item number 2, FY25 CIP Budget Ordinance Amendments, 2024 General Obligation Bond Referendum. Item number 3, under the Fire Department, purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus for Fire Department. Office of Economic and Workforce Development, item number 4, FY 2024 through 2025, agreement to fund education to career initiatives operated by Made in Durham using City of Durham grant funds. Item number 5, Partners for Reentry Opportunities and Workforce Development, PROWD, Grant Cooperative Agreement, Eckerd Youth Alternatives, Inc., doing business as Eckerd Connects.
Pull that one.
Item number 5 is pulled. Under Public Works Department, item number 6, contract amendment number 1 to BR-10C, Bridge Professional Services. Item, item number 7, contract ST-334C Utility Locate Services 2025. I'm pulling that. Item number 8, contract SW97 Sidewalk Repairs 2025.
Big shout out for that. Yeah, I was gonna say shout out for that. You want to pull it? Yeah.
Item number 8 is pulled. Item number 9, amendment number 3 to professional services contract SW-46D, Hillendale Road Bike and Pedestrian Improvements, TIP number U-4726HN.
Hurrah for that.
Under Technology Solutions Department, item number 10, contract with Navient Inc. to enhance the on-base agenda workflow. I'm not going to pull that, but I do have some questions I'll direct to staff subsequent. Item number 11, contract with Application Software Technology LLC for Next Generation Enterprise Resource Planning Solutions implementation. Under Transportation Department, item number 12, street impact fee eligibility for various transportation projects. Item number 13, Federal Transit Agency Section 5310 Grant Project Ordinance. And under public hearings to be heard at our next council meeting, from the City County Planning Department, item number 14, zoning map change 3112 South Alston Avenue. Item number 15, zoning map change Brickworks. Item number 16, zoning map change Davis Park West. Under Community Development Department, item number 17, 5-year FY 2025 through 2030 consolidated plan and FY 2025 through 2026 annual action plan public needs hearing. Under Office of Economic and Workforce Development, item number 18, public hearing and economic development incentive agreement with LSD Jones and Sons, Inc. And citizens matters to be heard at 1 p.m. I believe I have one, Jacqueline Wagstaff, to be a citizen matter to be heard at 1. Under supplemental items from Fleet Management Department, Cooperative Group Purchase Contract, heavy duty mobile air and light support truck. And under the City Attorney's Office, an ordinance setting filing fees for candidates to municipal office in the City of Durham. And that ends the reading of our published agenda for the work session today. I have, by my reckoning, pulled items number 5, 7, and 8. Mr. Manager, do you concur?
I do, thank you.
All right. At this time, we'll move to our citizens matter to be heard at 1. Is Ms. Wagstaff online?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, she's not on Zoom currently.
Okay, and I do not see her in chamber with us today. If she should show up, we will certainly honor her ability to speak for the council. With that, Mr. Mayor, with your permission, we'll move to pulled items. All right, item number 5, and that was pulled by, forgive me,
That was mine, yeah.
Councilmember Burris.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Just partly as a matter of process. So I did have a number of questions about this item that I've been talking to Ms. Graham Scott about, who's the director of the Workforce Development Board. She's been sharing information with me. There's a long contract, 40-page contract I've been working through on this important work. I mean, this is, maybe I should say at the outset, this work of providing workforce training for folks reentering our community is absolutely critical. I've had a chance, I've been reviewing that. There's also an evaluation she's going to send me. So I want to look at that stuff. I don't know if that means, do we put this on GBA or what's the process for that when if there's information between the work session and the city council meeting? What's the right process for that? Yeah. I'm not sure I have as much question on that, but more, I still want to review that. So yeah, so if I, yeah. How do we handle that?
Good afternoon. I'm Ed Nixon, Acting Director for the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. I'm not sure I understand your question.
I mean, it's probably a question for my colleagues. Like I do have I want to review the evaluation you all have done of the first year of Eckerd's performance in this contract.
Okay.
And so, but I haven't had a chance to review that. So
I
need more time to review
We
that.
can certainly put it on GBA
Okay, let's do that,
or
yeah.
Monday night
Okay.
meeting, and staff will, any questions you have.
So we'll revisit Monday night?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll just,
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay.
that's it, Councilmember? Thank you. All right, item number 7 was pulled by me. I think we disposed of this fairly quickly.
Good afternoon, Tasha Johnson, Public Works Assistant Director.
Good afternoon. Good to see you. Happy New Year. So the locating services, that's when y'all come out and put the little flags, right? So we'll know where stuff is.
Correct.
Okay. The people we're hiring to do this, I'm trying to understand this just from a process point of view. Do we have like a master blueprint of where all of our utilities are? I guess, how intense is the actual locating when you go places in the city, as opposed to the city just telling these folk, here's the master plan of where we have our stuff, just go and plant the flags? Or do they actually have to relocate stuff or do ground sonar? Or how much do we know where stuff already is?
So there is a master map,
Right.
and different areas of the city are more complex than others. The downtown area, being older, has a lot more utilities. The outer parts of the city, newer, are easier to locate. And then there are different types of locators. There are drops for someone who just wants to extend from the right of way to their home to connect to cable or fiber. And then there are continuous locates for major projects like CIP and capital projects. So there's a range of complications involved, and the locates that we provide or get assistance with from the contractor are the more simple ones.
Right.
And so all of them are vetted through internal staff. We give the simpler ones to the contract, and we focus on the more complex areas of the city.
Got you. And I promise you, I'm not trying to be facetious or minimize it, but I'm just, so this contract isn't about them just going out and putting flags where we tell them. I guess I'm wondering, how intense is their work in actual locating? Or is it just a matter of taking the master map and putting an orange or red flag somewhere, and that's?
No, you have to actually locate it. So you have to actually find the manhole or the clean out and then put marks between them to locate where the utility is most likely to be.
Got you.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure, please.
So, Ms. Johnson, if you could elaborate, when the map gets a locator to the location, there's a physical process they have to go through to action before they put the paint down. Or sometimes with certain utilities, they're using sensors that find the utilities under the ground and they place paint. So it's not just a matter of taking the map and transferring it onto the street. They are actually using equipment on that location to locate. Does that help answer your question?
Absolutely. I was just wondering how intense a process
Thank you.
is this? Are we talking ground sonar or kind of, I was just wondering, again, not spending money just to go out and put flags down. I was just wondering how intense their work was, and I think I've gotten a sense of
Okay,
it.
thank you.
I appreciate you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks so much. Colleagues, anyone else on this item? All right, then we'll move on to pulled item number 8. Councilmember Cook, I believe that was you.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
Hello, good to see you again.
Good to see
Tasha
you.
Johnson, Public Works Assistant Director.
I just actually am hoping that you'll just do a kind of brief synopsis of this for us. I just have a couple specific questions, but really I'm looking at this because I know we're about to have quite a bit of sidewalk construction. And so I'm just using this as sort of an example of what that looks like. So I was wondering if first you could talk a little bit about why we choose to contract this out, and what the advantages are of using a contractor to do sidewalk maintenance and building.
We contracted out because it is far more work than we have the capacity internally to deal with. Street maintenance focuses on point repairs, the more simple repair types, and the longer areas are shifted to contracting, and we put those under contract to do on an annual basis. So this contract is part of the annual FY25 funds.
Right. And when you say longer versus shorter, can you give me like a example-ish?
A block or so.
Okay. As opposed to like a mile.
As opposed to miles or mini blocks.
Okay. And then there is a contingency fund as part of this contract. Is that generally something that we see in contracts of this type?
It is, and we try to keep the contingency fairly low because these are projects that we can monitor on a location by location basis, and we want to get as much work done under each contract as we can. So we keep the contingency low.
Cool. You actually answered one of my questions with that, so thank you. And then my final question is that I know that we have a method for identifying sidewalks to build, and we've done I know that we have different things that we value in terms of like equity and readiness and these other things. When we're looking at repairs, is there something similar that we use to prioritize, or how do we find what to repair and how much to do at any given time?
There are similar considerations. This is, it considers risk and equity. There was a study completed in 2021 that looked at the sidewalk conditions throughout the whole city. And then we used a methodology that included various social economic indicators combined with risk to prioritize the locations. And then we use that to guide the locations we put in the annual work.
Thank you. And for my final question is, for this item, I might just be missing it. Do we have an idea of how the length of this repair? I know we have a map, but I can't quite tell from that.
It's about 1,200 linear feet, or just over just over 2 miles.
Just over 2 miles. And this is a repair, and we're
I'm sorry,
looking
12,000 linear feet. Yes.
12,000, just over 2 miles.
Yeah.
And we're looking at just the repair. That is a sidewalk that's already intact, and our bids are ranging between almost 9 million and 2.25 million for just repairs for that amount of space.
Correct.
And that seems, we got 3 responses, so that seems to be generally the going rate.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you. Those were all my questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember. Colleagues, anyone else?
Yeah.
Councilmember Riss.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Just one question. So the memo from staff referenced sort of several locations across the city for this particular project, or SW 97. The map shows 2 different spots. One is north of Central, the other is northwest of Central. Is that the 2 locations, or are there more locations that are going to be, where repairs will take place?
Those are the 2 locations that we anticipate being able to complete in this contract.
Okay, thank you. Will that fulfill that this is, contract SW 97. Will that fulfill SW 97, or is there more in there that'll come later?
Those are the ones that we've identified for SW 97, depending on how the work goes. We may have to shorten up some of the sections, which we anticipate picking up with the bond contract, which we open bids for next week.
But these 2 areas that encompasses SW 97, or is there?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, colleague. Colleagues, anyone else? Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I was going to talk about this a little later in other matters before we dismiss, but anecdotally, and feel free if you can't answer this now, but the amount of money we spend on contracts have we ever looked at what the actual cost comparison would be if we done a lot of this work, like more of it in-house? And I only asked that question, and I only asked because one of the first things we passed when I first joined council in 2021, I thought it was a typo when I looked at the amount allocated for sidewalks. I think it was sidewalk repair or making sidewalks, one or the other. I think it was about 10 million, and then I looked at the distance, and I was just blown away. And I remember the first thing I said was, I know what business I'm going to go into when I retire. You know, I'm going to create my own cement yard. But when I asked the question, why don't we mix and pour our own cement? It was like, well, it's really expensive. It's really complex. But then I went to our wastewater management facility and listened to the staff explain what happens there. And I was like, there's no one in the city that cannot handle anything complex because they use words I'd never known existed before. So do we know of a comparison, a cost comparison of what it would be if we handled it in-house, the larger projects as well, all inclusive in-house versus contracting out, the money we spend outward?
I do know we've looked at the cost comparison for in-house versus contract. They are approximately equal. It's not a big difference the last time I saw the numbers. And the bigger issue at this point is capacity. We've identified $80 million worth of backlog and sidewalk repair need, and we just don't have the capacity to tackle that in a timely manner.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Colleagues, anyone else? All right, by my reckoning, we've exhausted all of our pulled items. Mr. Mayor, we're at settling the agenda and gabbling out. I don't know if you want to land us or.
Yeah, I just had a few things I wanted to put on the radar. I'm not prepared to bring them before the council just yet. But as we're going into budget season, one of the things I'm going to bring back up is Mr. Manager, this will be on one of our one-on-ones, but I am seriously interested in a spending assessment. What I'm saying is, what are we spending money on that is outside of the purview of city brick and mortar and infrastructure, CIP, what special projects we're funding, what special groups we're funding, what are our recurring projects, what are they not? And I know I can dig through the budget and do all of this analysis myself, but also that's why we have amazing people with amazing folks in place. So when we meet again, I'll talk about that. And once I get that data back, colleagues, there may be some things I'll bring to you as we explore other ways to address our budget, approach our budget season, and also how we do our work sessions. And my overall goal is to ensure that we are being a proactive government rather than reactive. And the other thing was, I know.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask, so is part of your concern the balance between sort of what staff does and sort of contractors and whether that's an efficient way to do?
Well, part of it is, that's why I went on and asked while she was here. It really is getting to the root of efficiency. And if we could, not to try and get in the operations of it, but more so, can we, assist with, some innovative policies that could change the way we do things. Governments, we are bureaucracies, and we get really comfortable in the way we've been doing things forever, including how we function as a council. So I'll be looking at that, but I just want to put it on the radar that is coming. I'm not prepared to bring that forward just yet, but from, the question I just asked to, there are many groups that we're funding, and just looking at how much is going there, who they are, do we need to have a system of rotation in place? Do we want to just keep it consistent? This will make a lot of people happy and a lot of people pissed off. But I think it's important that it's going to be important information for us as we change our behavior, how we approach budget. And lastly, I met with our bike advocates yesterday, and we were talking, and you just brought it up also, just, when we're thinking about traffic safety, we're thinking about, folks, ensuring that our streets are safe. I wanted to let them know that this is not a either or conversation. I think it's very important that as we build a holistic city, that we're not looking at traffic safety and the safety of life by gun violence as two different things, but In fact, it's all tied together. You should be able to get from point A to point B in the city anywhere safely. We have a Vision Zero plan for traffic. I'm looking for some version of Vision Zero when it comes to gun violence, when it comes to, our kids being able to play safely in the streets. What that looks like, I don't know just yet. But I wanted to also put that out in the atmosphere that it is coming of some type of proposal. And I would bring that before us to address it in the very near future. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Cook.
I just wanted to say that I'd be interested in working on that with you. I've literally used that exact line, and I think I talked with our Vision Zero coordinator about this, saying that I was interested in using Vision Zero as a pilot program to see the interactions between a bunch of different departments and community organizations, and to see how we could lead that to be a Vision Zero for gun violence as well. So I'm excited to hear that we've both arrived at that exact same language, and would be really happy to work on that with you.
I mean, you are the Ward 3 council member, that's where I come from. We have good stock. Thank you.
Colleagues, anyone else? Vision Zero for gun violence. Amen. Absolutely. Mr. Manager, I think we're ready to settle.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The agenda is settled as followed, or per my notes, it's on the consent agenda, items 2 through 4, 6 through 13, 19 and 20. On general business agenda, items 1 and item 5, and the general business agenda for public hearings is items 14 through 18.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. I'll entertain a motion to settle the agenda.
So moved.
Heard a motion in a second. All in favor? Those opposed? All right, the agenda is settled. We have exhausted our published agenda for the day. With the mayor's permission, it is January 9th, 1:51 p.m. We are officially adjourned. God bless Durham. Be safe in the weather.
Maybe you should leave more meetings.
No,
that's
don't
gonna
put,
happen.
no.
This is going to happen.